right, here we go. Welcome, everybody, back to the Beehive Biker Podcast. This is episode 11. Today we have Kelly Driscoll joining us today, a local legend.
Legend. I have not been called that. That's awesome. I might have to live up to that now, for sure.
So today the reason we have Kelly on is he's been integral in getting the Peach Days motorcycle show for the last several years.
That's right. We're in our 25th year.
Man,
It started out thinking we were just maybe going to go 1 or 2 years. I'm a Harley enthusiast. I own a Harley, and I wanted to do something besides just ride. And I was heavily involved with the Chamber of Commerce back 24 years ago. Wow. And so when I say heavily involved, a little bit of that legend part is I was a Chamber of Commerce president and heavily involved with Beach Days. So I wanted to make something. There was something else that I wanted people to have come up to Beach Days and draw an attention. I started out with like 2 weeks before Beach Days. I thought, man, think we could pull this off? And word of mouth. It started all on a word of mouth. Got a hold of a couple of my buddies, and they got a hold of their buddies, and they got a hold of their buddies, and we ended up with 55 bikes that year.
Wow,
that's fantastic.
2 weeks ahead of
wow. And with 2 weeks to go, I didn't even have a poster. I've been saving this artwork ever since, and I didn't have a poster for it. So it's the only year I don't have a poster. So yeah,
that'd be really cool. We'll have to get some pictures from you of all those different posters.
I'd like that for sure. We're building a poster wall this year, not a poster, but of people who've been coming for over 25 years now. My 3 sons have been, they're the OGs. They've been started with me 25 years ago, and 3 of them didn't even have Harleys at that time. Now 2 of them do. But they've been with me 25 years on this whole adventure.
That's awesome.
But that first year, like I said, at 55 bikes, and that first year I almost thought we were going to get shut down. Somebody got wild and crazy and thought they'd do a little burnout on Main Street.
Oh, boy.
And that got by okay. But there was a Coke shredder there, and this Coke shredder filled up with tire smoke to where they were coughing, and they couldn't get out of there in time. That thing just filled right up, and I swore. I says, okay, that'll never happen again. But I thought for sure they were going to cut me right off.
Ixnay on the bike show.
Yeah. So I pleaded. I've got this little funny deal with the Chamber of Commerce. This is a Chamber of Commerce event. It's during Peach Days, and that attracts between 60 and 70,000 people for that 3-day event. Mm-hmm. So this is a Chamber event, and every year, like I said, I'd have to go out there and ask them, can we have a Harley show this year? Can I have a Harley show this year? It's actually a Harley and custom bike show this year, and every year they've granted me space on Main Street.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's been getting larger and larger every year now. Instead of asking, can I have a Harley bike show? I just ask them if I can have 75 more feet.
Yeah. And well, see, that's the funny thing is whenever I tell people to come, I'm like, hey, you get front row parking.
That is the other.
If you're on a bike.
Yep, that is the other reason I got people. That's why we started partitioning them off and barricading them off and keeping their bikes safe, because I wanted them to go out and enjoy the carnival and the local vendors and the food trucks and the car show too. The car show is going on at the same time as I am. Yeah. And in fact, for 25 years, I've only been down to the car show one time, and that was the Chamber of Commerce the president got to select a car at the bike show or at the car show, and so they brought me up an ATV and drove me down there, and they have over 1,000 cars.
Oh yeah.
And I thought,
big.
I'm not going to be able to get away for that. So I'm a Camaro enthusiast. I had a 70 Camaro when I was in high school, so I knew right to where to go. Went right to the Camaros and selected that Camaro, and nobody even knew I was gone. But that's the only time I've been down to the car show. Yeah. And the same with them. They haven't been up to my bike show, so I just keep telling them about how cool we are. And I mean, we've got up to about 400 one year, and that was amazing. We only have space for about 250 bikes to up to 300 bikes on Main Street. I promised them it wouldn't be turned into a Sturgis. I had made some promises. Mm-hmm. Not the Sturgis is bad at all, but the fact that they were got some attention, and they didn't know who was going to be showing up to this bike show is actually kind of a new thing for them when I introduced that. But it's getting larger and larger, and I got asked this the other day. 25 years, we started out. This is a fundraiser. That one year, our food pantry was low, in food. And so we started this little campaign. The idea was bring 1 can to 1 case of food. And I saw bike riders coming with their bags full.
Oh,
that was the coolest thing to see. Their bags chuck full of canned goods. It was only a couple of bucks. I liked the cash because then I can go buy more food with that cash. But started out to 1 can to 1 case of food. So for several years, we collected thousands and thousands of pounds for this community, Box Elder, for the food pantry. And that got to be so big. And then other people like Walmart started coming in, and those other food chain stores around locally. Remember, we started 25 years ago. And so that's when Walmart came in. They got a hold of this too, and they started helping the food pantry with food during that time. Yeah. So we started moving off into different fundraisers. We turned this into a fundraiser, and last year was the New Hope Crisis Center, and this year's the Box Elder Children's Justice Center. That's new here in Brigham City.
Oh, really?
And they're always ever looking for funding for this. It's locally, it's a home right here in Brigham City for troubled youth. Generally, that they're looking for a place, safe haven to go to, and so we've selected that this year. But I got asked just recently, out of all these 25 years, how much money do I think I raised? And it's kind of like this thing. I never thought I'd be raising money after money a year for this, and we've approached about $125,000 that we're through this one little bike show that just started out to be something for something.
Yeah, just something to do.
Yeah.
See, that's what I love about the motorcycle community is especially people that aren't in it, they probably wouldn't guess that people would be that willing to kind of help out that way. I mean, we have all sorts of teddy bear runs or whatever, food drives, and that, I don't know. I think that's super cool about the motorcycle community.
I always say they have deep pockets, and it's here's one example. Not only do I use this for a fundraiser, but BACA has been with me for, I think they jumped on about the 23rd year as Bikers Against Child Abuse. And I love to save them a spot every year, and it's one of their largest fundraisers for their organization at my event. So I thought that was awesome to hear that they're doing that. So BACA's a fundraiser, and I always say, these are deep-pocketed people. And when I was in business, I just realized, I said, recently retired, and I sold my business. My employees would always ask me, why do I get involved with this? Bikers have a stigma. I don't know what it is yet because I'm one of them, but they'd always like, why are you getting involved with these bikers? And it was a flower shop here in Brigham City. And shortly after I tell them, why I'm involved with bikers, here comes these bikers. And, they didn't realize, here's these bikers wearing about $1,000 worth of leathers alone, chaps and jackets, and they got a $20,000, $30,000 Harley sitting outside my door there. I says, that's why, and they come in and buy $100 worth of roses. And I says, that's why I'm getting involved with the bikers.
Yeah. You got to buy those roses for your wife when you buy too many motorcycle parts.
Yeah, you do. So I'm really looking excited to having you guys come down and seeing what we do. You've been there several years, but I would like to see both of you more involved with what we do.
Yeah, we loved it.
It's a wonderful community, and every year we've had live music, and I think that's an attractor down on Main Street. And there was a year that they pulled it off of Main Street, and I wasn't as involved in it as for that reason, and they pulled it off Main Street, and the vendors made mention about how the street vendors and also the businesses downtown Brigham City made mention about how they missed the traffic coming up there because literally thousands of people go up that way, and several hundreds are always looking at these bikes, but thousands of people go up that way, and many of the times it's first time that they've ever been to Brigham City. And I always do that. I always ask, who's been here, and I've always liked to see who's been there the longest, along with us 25 years. But it is a attractor to our community, and I've lived here for several years, and I love the fact that people are coming to Brigham City because it is a nice community.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach, how many years have you been coming? Is this 2?
This will be my 2nd year,
Yeah, and then... Well, because he was living down in South Jordan?
Well, I was down in West Jordan.
West Jordan. I always get it mixed up.
Yeah, I had never heard of this until about a year and a half ago, and Jeremy was like, "Hey, man, you should bring your bike up. I mean, just come up, enjoy all these bikes that they bring in, and just enjoy the community." And
that's nice. Word of mouth is extremely important in that way because there's not a poster big enough to get as much information as I like to say. And
definitely.
By you just inviting him up for that reason, it is a ride and show. You don't even have to. I've got guys that drive all the way from Salt Lake and on past that, and they're worried about it. It is a bike show, but we do give awards away, and you'll hear about that awards. But they was worried about they wouldn't have the nicest, prettiest bike there, but I've seen some win that's got the bugs from Wheeler Bay still on the windshield, and that's one thing that makes this show really unique. I wanted to go with the fact of the car show is the state's largest free car show. It doesn't cost you anything to enter. And people always say, why don't you charge these people to be here, to park on Main Street? And we very well could. But I want to stay with that same philosophy because guess what? These people are giving us more than $10 for an entrance fee.
Right. For those businesses on Main Street. I'm sure they appreciate it more than anyone else.
They really do. And it's fun because I can point to many of these vendors are on my poster that I can literally point to them. The print shop has been with me from almost 25 years now. And you think you guys might be familiar with Scott Hendrickson.
Yeah.
He was the owner of the print shop. And
I didn't realize he was the owner. I knew he was working with you guys. So
he was the owner. That's how humble he is. But now he's works for Law Tigers. And him and I have been friends for many, many years. And he's watched this thing grow. As it got a little out of hand, it was just a one-man show back then. And then I started seeing the value of this and started getting downtown merchants involved. Brigham City and Scott was the first one.
Right.
That was prior to him even owning a Harley. But now he owns several Harleys.
It's an addiction for sure. You mentioned awards. So I have up here a picture of last year's, I believe it's last year's awards. So would you mind explaining how that kind of works? Because I see Whitaker Construction, Nucor, Mayor's Choice, People's Choice, Peach Queen. Would you mind kind of going over those and kind of describing each of them? I
would, for sure. And that's the one thing I do like about this, because everybody gets an opportunity to win towards that. And I don't think that's really the reason why people are even coming. They don't to have the opportunity to win. I think they're just coming to help support the great cause and the wonderful event on top of that. But those started out something that... very simple, because every one of those things are all associated with Brigham City, like the Peach Queen Award.
Yeah.
One of probably the most popular ones, the Peach Queens come on when we get all set up. We'll talk about that a little bit, our setup time. And they come there and they select a bike, and there's zero criteria. Truly, nothing.
Whatever they like.
Just whatever they like. And I generally always ask them at the end, so why did you select that? They had no clue. It's a 2012 Sportster. They had no clue.
They're like, that one looks nice.
They did. Many of them, the color. The color is the first thing they're looking at. So I like that. And our mayor, I was always kind of like I said earlier, I always felt like I was begging for permission to be able to have this bike show. And so I'd always want the mayor involved too, because if the mayor backed me, and at that time I've been very good friends with every one of the mayors for that whole 25 years. And so I started having a Mayor's Choice Award.
So
awesome.
I know Mayor Vincent.
Yes.
How many years was he around?
So he got to select for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. One is he won 2-term, and then he also, 1-2 term, maybe it was a little longer than that. He was 2-term president.
Around for a minute.
Yeah, he was. And I always loved his choices. One is he's an auto body mechanic.
Right.
And owns a business here in Brigham City as well. And I bring my vehicles to him too. And so that was always a wonderful thing, having the Mayor's Choice Award. And it was paint. I always ask him.
Well, yeah, he's got a paint shop associated with it.
Yeah, he paint, and I could always know that. And, when you look at it, you got 250 bikes, and you got less than an hour to choose that. It can be a little tough. So you got to go like I did earlier. I like Camaros, and I went right to the Camaros. So, yeah.
Well, especially with something, you've got commissioner and mayor, right?
Yeah.
They've got other things they got to get done.
I'm already on their schedules. I already know in advance. Get it on their schedule, because they're not only doing my show. They went and selected the car show.
Right.
And they're shaking hands and kissing babies somewhere else. So I always get on their schedules for sure. But I look forward to that. And I've had 2 special sponsors. Every one of our sponsors are special, but these guys have been with me from the beginning. One is Whitaker Construction, and they're great hometown boys. And you see their trucks going all over Brigham City in northern Utah, actually. So they've been with me from the beginning. So one of the things that I always encourage them to do is they've always selected one of the bikes, and as being a sponsor. And I'm great friends with Mike Whitaker, the president of Whitaker Construction, but V&B Billiards.
I was going to say, that was the next question here. It was a little different award for them.
Yes, they select. They've been with me also. I've got a lot of major sponsors on there, but those 2 are specifically. I just love the longevity of it. Like I said, I didn't know if there's going to go 1 year, 2 years.
Right.
That wasn't even the plan. The plan was just maybe to get it off the ground and somebody else would take over. And but 25 years later, here we are. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. And the people, the awards that they get, I think they're very honored they get them, because I've had, a little bit of disappointment. People come and say, hey, I got a $60,000 bike sitting right here, and that bike right there won. I don't understand. But then, I'd tell them, this was chosen by the mayor, and the mayor. Speaking of that, Mayor Vincent, he chose a military bike last year, military honors, and that was extremely important to him. So that's one of the reasons that same person asked me that same question. Why did I get chosen? But so it's encouraging. So Jeremy, when you told Zach, come on out, bring your bike up. That's what I encourage you to do. Bring your bike up.
Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody to maybe start a ride. We're less than 30 days, and I know that 1 year that I had over 400 bikes, I started a ride out of Hillfield, and it was for the fallen soldiers during Christmas time, and we had a tremendous turnout for that. And so I'm looking for somebody that could start a ride, maybe end up at Peach Days and have your event end there and then take off. But I haven't been successful. I haven't really checked out a lot. So maybe those listeners in your podcast would be helpful with that.
Well, one we've talked about a couple times is I'm from Cache Valley originally, and I think it'd be really cool to kind of make connections with all the different food industry places in Logan, because we got a lot of them.
Yes,
you got Schreiber's, you have Gosner's, Pepperidge Farm. Lowers and Casper, you just
drove by several of them on the way through Preston to Logan today. So
so we thought it'd be fun to make connections with them and be like, hey, we're gonna have a ride through. We're gonna do some sort of charity run, something, hit all of them up, bring business to them.
Yep.
And so it's kind of a win-win, and then that money can go towards something like. I don't even know how to even start that kind of stuff, though. Like, how do you even organize a charity? So that's something that maybe you could help with, You know
what? We pulled things off 2 weeks. Like I said, this thing started out 25 years ago, 2 weeks before Peach Days. Yeah. That was another event that we're also doing. We can only get this event so big. But all we just want to do is make it better. So 4 years ago, we started another fun side event that started 2 weeks again before Peach Days, and we're now on our 4th annual Brigham Beard competition.
Yeah.
And again, it was almost, our numbers are almost the same. 55 contestants showed up the very first year. We only had a couple of weeks to do it, but now we're in our 4th year, and it's helped with our fundraising. As I mentioned, we only have so many rooms for so many bikes, and I encourage everybody to come because I'll get you all in. I'll make room. So we started this other fundraiser, and I looked around, and I thought, here's all these captured audience right here. I'm in marketing with my businesses, and I'm watching this stuff, and I thought, wait a minute, we could capture even more of that deep pocket that they have. And I noticed that 80% of them, men, I have to include just the men here on this one, 80% of the men had beards or facial hair. And so we started the Brigham Beard competition, and one of our local insurance agent, Courtney Gregory, with America Family Insurance. He's known as the Brigham bearded agent. And so I got with him immediately and said, hey, I've got my hands full with this event as it is. Help me out here. So he joined on board, and this year we're going to both partner up. He's my co-chairman, and I'm his co-chairman. So I'd like to have him invite him to your podcast one
that'd be
time.
cool.
Very good.
Yeah.
He is the next Chamber of Commerce president.
Oh, really?
So he'd be another nice addition for your podcast, is for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But we start at 1:00, and there's a little conflict with that. It was if you haven't been to Peach Days is in its 117th year. It is the oldest continuous running festival this side of the Mississippi.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, most people don't even know that, right?
I
here
would
in
never
Brigham
have
City,
guessed
Utah.
that.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, I know. And I'd mentioned there's a lot of first things. We have 60 to 70,000 people come to Peach Days for a 3-day event. And so they shut down Main Street, and it shut down in a T. It's what they call the T zone. It's all Main Street from about 2nd South to about 1st North.
Yeah, First North.
And then all the way from Main Street down to the railroad tracks, down Forest Street now. And that's our T zone. So one of them's the end of the car show, and the other one's the end of the bike show. Carnival, and there's a lot of fun things to do up there. But I'm not sure where I was going with this, but we moved from where we were down at one end. But I had too many eyes on me, I think, down by the Chamber of Commerce. So I asked to move it at the other end, and it was a good thing because we started expanding more and more and more.
So that moved you right underneath the Brigham sign?
Yes, and we use
I think
that
that's
as our
iconic.
tagline.
Oh,
it's our tagline. Amazing. We don't even give an address. It's under the arch, and it's been that way. And it's nice you picked up on that. Yeah, that's one of, I look back at all of our posters that we create and they're all under the arch. But it starts. I was going to tell you about the T zone. We are the last entry in the parade, and
really?
Peach Days is the longest per entry parade we have in Utah. Per entry, it's not the biggest and it's not the best, but it is the per entry. Now we got the little kids on their bikes and the horses and the politicians, and so we're waiting as the very last entry goes right on by First South and Main Street, and we're rolling out. We're quite an assembly item that sets up. We have a band that comes. That they bring 2 vehicles and their trailer and that, and then we have a stage. And all of our equipment is set up registration. We partition the whole street off. We protect the bikes with barricades and roping. And that's where I was leading with this about the timing is we literally only have about 45 minutes to set up a whole large event on Main Street.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen without my volunteers. Every year I've had to buy 100 more feet of flagging because I keep capturing 75 feet, and my measurements might be just a little bit different than Chambers.
You're like, what? Yeah. How did another 100 bikes fit in here?
Yeah, or how they give me 75 feet, and I got 100 feet of flagging. It's not enough. I should have got more. Yeah. But I found out I wanted to catch this from the sky one time. Our setup, I can imagine it's just, especially right underneath the arch, and having these. I have about 30 volunteers that come and show up for that 45 minutes time frame to help get this event set up.
Yeah, that's one thing that I noticed last year was the efficiency of everything, because we pulled in at, I want to say like, 1:15-ish?
Oh, yeah. Well, because everyone's lined up on either side of First South.
As soon as everything just opened up, we pulled in and everybody was sitting there and lining bikes up and just getting everything going, and everything is all organized chaos. It's just so smooth.
Zach, that's great to hear, because as a chairman, you don't get to get these accolades, and you're really patting your own self on your back because you don't hear these. So thanks for sharing that with me. That's why I mentioned it's a little bit of a hassle right there. First, I've had people come up, and unfortunately, it seems like it's the same people every year. They're saying this is the same stuff that happens every year. They don't realize we're setting up. And it's 12:30, and we're in there. Yeah, you're right. We're not quite ready yet, but give us another half hour, and we'll have this thing all set up. So 1:00, we can take bikes earlier. I don't want anybody to feel like can't come. We've now accommodated them before you can get some flagging up. The BACA is my security, and they know the routine. It's really wonderful after 25 years. I keep saying this is it. But my family is so heavily involved in theirs, and they're like, we don't know how to enjoy peach days any other
without
way.
it.
Yeah. It's too late now. You can't back out.
No, it really is. I keep saying this is my last year. So I've used local artists on this. I've used a local model for this one also. I'll give a shout out to him. He's River Grover. He's been a friend of my family for many, many years, and he was honored when I asked if I could select him to put on our poster this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it seems so. Every year, do you pick a motorcycle to kind of be the mascot for that year? Because it seems, at least with the last three, there was a blue and white deluxe, and then like a red and white deluxe, and then there was a black with black and white checkers, maybe some red flames.
Jeremy, that makes me happy to see that somebody's following me like this.
It's called obsession.
Yes. So mine's passion. Maybe you can hear a little bit now. I have a ton of, I'm going to go to obsession from now on. But you're exactly right. Those are the bikes, and I've been actually had the liberty of meeting quite a few people that come to these and help support them. And one of them is Richard at Hell Monkeys.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe you're familiar with that. Richard's been a supporter like you wouldn't believe.
Well, I knew some of those bikes were his, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
he won 1 year or 2 years, I think, just randomly won something.
Right.
People's Choice Award or something. I think it might have started with that. I select a bike for one reason is as a business owner, we'd get so many of these posters, and I realized at the end of the month, I'd come up here and look and start having to remove the posters, and I think we just started ripping them up and throwing them away. And I started thinking, I don't want that to happen to my posters. And I'm sure it does. We print 250 posters, and I know where 50 of them is. I don't know where the other 200 are. But I started wanting them to be collectibles.
Yeah,
and
I
I've
think
had
they're
some
beautiful,
really
so
awesome
I have to frame
artists,
some of these.
local artists. One woman did dots. She did a whole motorcycle out of dots, and then I used it for a poster a couple of years, actually, because she kept changing them up. And if you go into B&B, it's on the wall of the B&B.
Oh, really?
A great big poster of it. So I look at that every time. And unfortunately, the woman that did the artwork for us isn't here with us anymore. So I feel like I have a piece of her history still with me all the time.
Yeah.
I look at them all the time. But so I wanted to make them, so we kept them. And I'm happy to hear about your obsession. But Richard's been on a couple of years, and another local artist here in our town who had never painted a bike ever in her life. And I approached her and I says, hey, I've been, the same philosophy. I wanted this to be collectible art, and I like it if, this is based on Brigham people. And so I selected her. Name's Lynette Reeder. And she showed up, and she knew where the bike show was, but never looked at it. So she brings her camera up, and she takes hundreds of pictures of bikes. Mm-hmm. She became obsessed. It was awesome.
It's hard not to.
And she says her biggest challenge was just selecting them. But anyway, she went ahead, and I says, okay, the one thing I've learned to be in creativity, you don't want to stifle anybody's creativity. So I says, don't have me direct you what direction you want to go to. Select one. And finally I kept saying, our poster's coming up. I got to have a due date. I got to get these done. And she's like, okay, I'm almost done. She had not even started. But so steps of almost done selecting one. I should be more specific next time. But anyway, she got a beautiful, and when she presented to me, she came and gave me an oil-based painting, and she says, "Here,
Wow.
I'd like to donate this." And I says, "Lynette, that's wonderful." And I turned it over, and she donated it to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And one of those other things, you don't get to hear that. She says, that's not, I paint birds and houses and trains, not motorcycles. So I knew that, and I proudly display it all the time, but she painted with oil, and she used a credit card. She didn't even push
really?
She didn't use a brush. You think an oil painter have brushes. Credit card, all done by credit card. It's amazing. Jeremy, if I'd known your obsession, I'd have brought more things.
It's okay. We'll get some pictures and we'll drop them on the screen. It's not.
Hey, I do have some on my phone.
So just text them on over. We'll make sure they get in. One thing I wanted to make a point of before we moved on too far is with those ones that you've had kind of mascotting for each year. At least the last 3 that I've known, they've always ended up in your display at your flower shop.
Yes. That's another thing that's nice. We did this weekend. I look at all the amazing window displays I did with Harley Davidsons in a window in a floral shop window. And again, as my designers would say to me, "Why do you do this?" But you wouldn't believe how many people would come and just stop and look at her, have a yogurt in front of our shop, looking at our window display. And I took great pride in that. And Richard at Hell Monkey's bike was in there a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
My bike was in there a couple times. My son's bike. In fact, my son, who has been with me for 24 years, his bike was last year's mascot, and we had his bike there. It's the white T-shirt, black Ultra. You might have seen that. I wish I'd brought that.
Yeah, I should have a picture of it. If not, I bought the T-shirt every year that I've gone. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, now that I've met you guys for the first time, my little swag that I was going to bring you, I had 2 of the Brigham Beard competition T-shirts left. They're larges only, and they're collectibles. And they're the very first.
Or too big.
You guys would have. I'll make sure that
I'll
happens.
lose some weight.
No, I got you guys covered. Again, I just want to emphasize about the support, about how much the local business has gotten behind us. Ryan Smith, who is a city council member from Brigham City, also owns a Cover Up, a heavy supporter at the bike show for me. In fact, he's doing the T-shirts this year, and
that's awesome.
And just ordered them, so we should have them printed up real soon.
Oh, fantastic!
One of the things that is kind of fun when we talk about T-shirts, when I mentioned Scott Henriksen earlier at the print shop, he was printing up our T-shirts, and I wanted another way to give back to businesses. I was able to get funding and raise money, and was able to bring a job to them as per se. And so Scott called me up. Our business was only a couple of doors from each other, and on Main Street, Brigham City, and calls me up and he said, "I want you to look at this screen print before I screen print all a couple of 100 bikes on T-shirts." And I found out the hard way we want to do that, because any mistake, it's way past.
Yeah.
One year they printed the word motorcycle incorrectly.
Oh, no.
It went all the way through the whole process with the word motorcycle incorrectly. So we found out that
it's just spelled wrong.
Yeah, it's just spelled wrong. Yep. And so many eyes on there, and it's the craziest thing. So anyway, he does this little screen print at his shop, and we really can't see it. And there happened to be one of those small 12 by 12 shop rags. Mm-hmm. Every guy, most women are even familiar with them. He had one of those laying on the ground. He picked up that shop rag, put it on his screen print machine, and did a screen print of this, or what we're going to have on our motorcycle shirts. And I looked at it, and I told him, I said, "This is perfect." And he was looking over more or less the quality of the screen print. And I says, "This is perfect. We're gonna get motorcycle shop rags, and we're gonna put screen prints on them, and people can pay for a donation and have a shop rag.
There you go.
So it's one of our most popular things now. We have these shop rags with the same motorcycle screen printed on there, but it's now a collector's item. It's a shop rag.
That's awesome.
And for $5, you can help with our causes. So we've gone up from 100 to 200 now shop rags that we like to have available for. We say, well, I don't like saying purchase, because you're really giving, you're donating, because most of your proceeds go towards this fundraiser that we have very small operating costs. We've been doing it long enough that we've got all the flagging bought now, got all the registration forms all bought and paid for, and so a lot of the money all goes towards that. The whole amount goes to, not quite the whole amount goes towards the proceeds, but we have a drawing. We go out, we buy some nice ticketed items. It's not like a whole bunch of small basket items that you're going to wonder how to get home. We go out and buy a couple of items also. For our drawing, that's new. It's only been a new item for a couple of months or a couple of years now. But that's been giving us more funds. It's nice to see this. As I mentioned, $125,000. It's nice to adding more and more and more, because I know every one of these organizations that benefit from this. We select a nonprofit organization for 3 years. I used to see, every year they'd say, let's do this company or this nonprofit, and they could never plan on something. And they started their own marketing, knowing that they were going to get a couple more $1,000s every year. And one of the last one was the New Hope Crisis Center, and that's for domestic violence. So I was really happy to be part of that. And in fact, I became on their board of directors after that, and watched the whole the reason what they do with their money. So I'm really excited to go with this to the Children's Justice Center this year. I know I talk a lot, guys.
No, you're okay. You're doing good.
Fill me in.
No,
I know you got tons of questions. Maybe I'm missing something here. I do. I went from a passion to obsession now, I think, for sure.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there isn't, for sure. So help me out. What's something that gets to your mind that you'd like to ask me about either event?
I don't know. What do you think, Zach?
I was just going to comment, one of the biggest things that I enjoy about this is that it actually has a motive behind it. It's, there's a purpose to it.
Yeah.
You're going to help somebody in need, some people in need.
Yeah,
it's not just, gather a bunch of cool bikes and, have a party, which that's just part of it.
It's just the icing on the cake.
But having a good intent behind it as well, and being able to give back to the community.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I noticed was the placing of it last year, and I'm like, I've driven down this road all the time, but I never really stopped to, check out any of the shops.
Yep.
And it's just fantastic.
We do have a beautiful city for sure. Yeah. I'm a transplant here. I came here in about the mid '80s. Thicol brought me here.
Oh, really?
And I was from a small community there by Ogden, and they brought me up here and married a woman from Brigham City and started calling this place my home. Got very heavily involved.
About that. Once you marry someone from here, you never leave.
Okay, because you must have experienced that same thing.
My wife was born and raised here, and here I am.
There's something about it. What's fun, and I guess best in both ways, is my former wife's gone, so she moved away, and I stayed. And I actually have become, it is my home, and I've become very, very active in our community. I mentioned earlier about the veterans, the combat vets motorcycle club that've been with me for many, many years, and that's getting bigger. Not that we've had any more combat vets, they're just more and more being aware of it, and they're a great cause, and so it's kind of fun to be a part of their organization, even though I'm not a combat vet, and but they've helped me out a lot. And so one of the things I've started to work on in our community is I want to build a veterans memorial wall, and also a Gold Star family member wall. a lot of people aren't familiar with what the gold stars are, and we're starting to educate people that way. And it's kind of been a kickoff. We started it, and a couple of us got involved in it, and I think it's going to happen for sure.
That's
Our
awesome.
game plan is there at the county courthouse, and so when I mentioned earlier about your Jeremy, your dedication and service to our United States, I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
It's one of the things that I can give back. The memorial wall is those who have sacrificed their life for our freedom, for sure, and I think they need to be recognized that. And they're gone, but the Gold Star family still lives on.
Yep.
And we have a couple in our family, in our county now. They're Gold Star family members, and I want them to be recognized somehow. Hopefully that number doesn't get any bigger. It's not one of those things like, oh, we got more numbers this year. That's not what I wanted. But I want to recognize those who have lost a loved one in an active duty, for sure. And who knows what may happen as you drive down Main Street. We talked about beautiful our city that we live in, and the reason why we never leave. You might have noticed on First South and Main Street, there's a mural there. And that has a wonderful story behind that. As we talked about this Harley show, and that's 10 days after 2 years ago Harley show. Jeremy, you might not have heard this before Zach come up, but I experienced a massive heart attack. I actually died. I died between 3 and 5 minutes, and our first responders, our police officers, saved my life here in Brigham City. They beat me up pretty bad. I got broken ribs and a sternum. Saved my life, and I had the liberty of pinning on a life-saving Medal of Honor to two of our finest police officers here in Brigham City. So that was an extremely wonderful event for me. But I get sidetracked when I get talking about some of this stuff, what it ties into this. But that mural, 10 days after 2 years ago, Harley show, I hadn't even unloaded my van or my trailer. And I have quite a setup. I have trailers and flagging and stages and numerous things in this trailer. And I hadn't even unloaded it. And I went into my designer and I says, I looked at her and just still remember looking at her. I says, Bonnie, now what? I just need that activity in my life. That's how I function. I like, as you said, organized chaos. I love it. It's just my form of adrenaline and excitement. And so I looked at her. She says, well, you've always wanted a mural in town. And she was right. And the next day I slept on it that night. And I says, we're going to get a mural.
That's awesome.
10 days after, I started this mural project, and I had the artist. His name was Kelly as well, Kelly Donovan. He's a world-renowned artist here in Corinne. He's done a lot for me. He agreed to paint this mural. Well, ironically, I decided one day that I wasn't going to be here, and I chose to die. And while I was in,
that's one way of putting it.
I chose it. Somebody says, "What's it like?" I said, "Hell, I don't know." One day, 7 days later, I woke up in the hospital, and I had no clue why I was there. But while I was in the hospital, there's only like 6 people that even knew about this project. I asked a couple of dear friends that I knew could give me an honest answer, and to see if it was even just me not reaching for the moon when I should have went for the stars. But so they endorsed it. They says, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so while I was in the hospital, they started this fundraising efforts, and they raised $5,000 for this mural.
Wow.
While I was in the hospital. My wife brings the news and journal into me, and she says, get prepared. And I'm a kind of emotional guy as he is. She says, get prepared. And I'm like, what for? And I thought, something really, in reading the paper, sometimes I would read it for obituaries, being in the Florida industry. And I turned that page, and I did. I cried and sobbed like you wouldn't believe in the hospital of what 3 organizations did to help raise funds for that mural. So I thank them people a lot. They kicked it off immensely. So I thought with that mural that we were going to get 2 murals, and I always wanted a destination to come to Brigham City and see a mural. As you're riding your Harley, come down Main Street or your custom bike, whatever it is. It's not just riding.
Yeah.
And to see a mural. And so I thought we were going to start with the second mural, and this idea about the veterans memorial wall and the gold stars came about. So I really think it's going to happen, and I might focus my energy more towards that because I think that's a lot of giving for that reason too. So Jeremy, as you mentioned earlier, legend. I guess I got to kind of keep that going.
Now I've set the bar.
You gotta keep the status now.
Well, have you ever done anything? Because I know you've got the stage and you have live music and you do your announcements. You do the beard competition.
Yep.
Have you ever done maybe just 10 minutes of like recognizing the veterans in the crowd and?
I do
like
that.
that.
There's a couple of things that I've always I have is I fly the American flag for that reason, and I've been flying for the last couple of years, not particularly from my incident, but prior to that, as I mentioned, the first responders, the police and the fire are extremely important to me, and meds and AMS are all extremely important. So I fly their flag as well. And kind of tradition, I have got a couple of things I want to share with you tradition-wise. Is one is I have Kid Rock, who has been my idol for many, many years, and my kids' idols now. So it's kind of fun to watch them grow up with Kid Rock. But we play Born Free. And I have the band while they're taking their system down. I have them leave up their PA and they play Born Free louder than what they play because I want that whole block to hear it. Because we're for that reason Born Free. So I do recognize them. I want to see who's veterans out in the crowds, and I do recognize them, and specifically because I have the combat vets with me. They're always great to have in the crowd for sure. But I like to see those in addition to and those are active service. I think sometimes they get missed. We always call out, "Hey, is any vets in the crowd?" Yeah, they're hooping and hollering, but there could be standing right next to. Sergeant, that's active right now, riding a bike.
Right.
So I always like to see who is, and more important is I think it's that typically the spouse or the family of that goes through that with them. They're in this together as well, and your wife is in this also. You're gone for weeks at a time and weekends, and it takes one hell of a wife.
Oh yeah,
to put up with that, and I admire her for that, and I've never even met her. But I'm glad that she does. She might grovel and kick the sand once in a while, and I'm sure you do too. But I think the part that she plays is just as important as your part too.
I would not be capable of going every weekend, a month, and annual trainings. And if we have a deployment or something, I wouldn't be able to do it without my wife and the support she gives me to this. I've said it before, but this podcast wouldn't happen if it weren't for the support of chasing after dreams that she has given me in our relationship. And but speaking of the military side of things, I mean, Brigham, we have the armory here, and we have the 145 Alpha battery that comes through on the parade a lot of the times.
Yes. I have a sense there too when the 145 got deployed. I think it was back in the early 2000s, I believe. They got deployed, and I spoke, and I told them the story about tying a yellow ribbon around an old oak tree, and I promised them I'd tie a yellow ribbon around an old oak tree and waiting for everyone to get back. And I did that at Brigham Floral for several years. We always had a yellow ribbon.
Gosh, Kelly, you trying to make me emotional or something?
It wasn't. I didn't have a dry eye in that place when I played the Tony Orlando song, and they were getting ready, husband and wives sitting there, mostly husband and wife sitting there, knowing that their husband was going to be deployed. There wasn't a dry eye the whole time. And then I presented them with a yellow ribbon too. Then I would hope they still have it to this day because everybody's home safe.
Yeah.
That's why.
You've mentioned a couple of times a few different motorcycle associations and clubs that come by. So from my memory, you've got BACA.
BACA, yes.
Christian Motorcycle Association.
Yes,
Combat Vets.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one I've seen, I think they're maybe from Logan, Cache Valley area. they're like Islanders or something Islanders or something.
They might have just presented themselves.
There's been like maybe a dozen of them that come every year, or
they might just be supporters. They're not actively involved. I with the Baca group, that's a wonderful organization. They've been with me for about 23 years, and so the other group might have just been showing an interest. Nobody's reached out to me.
See 'em.
I'll pay a lot more attention to that.
Yeah, well, I've just seen a couple of. It's kind of like a tiki style patch on their back.
Oh yes, okay. Scott Hendrickson was extremely. He was extremely influential about getting those guys here. He did a few things for them, and they did a few things for us.
There you go.
They came up and supported us. That's right. They're out of Salt Lake.
Oh, they are.
When it's the Polynesian group.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll have to ask what it is. It might be Poly Boys.
Poly Boys.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Nice. Okay, because I have a friend that he's part of it over in Logan, or at least is associated with it, and so that's why I thought maybe they were from Logan. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it is Poly Boys if I remember right. I could be completely wrong.
It is. Bill Dow. Have you spoke with Bill Dow?
No, I haven't.
That's been Scott Hendrickson's boss through Law Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
He got involved with this bike show. In fact, he says it was one of the biggest events that Law Tigers has been involved with is the bike show. And he got me involved with the Poly Boys. I went out and I performed his daughter's wedding.
Oh, wow.
And the Poly Boys showed up. They did a barbecue for it.
There you go.
And did an excellent job too. These guys know how to have a good time. Yeah.
That reminds me whose wedding was it that you went to and you just rolled up right right in front of them on your bike?
That would have been Seth's.
That was Seth's wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this great picture of Zach and he's just like right in front of, I don't know, are they kissing or whatever? They're just standing right there. Him and his wife.
They're just standing in the back going like this. But
I think it's funny.
Yeah. Hey, when I was mentioned earlier about the smoke filling up the Coke booth.
Oh, yeah.
And hearing that, this is another tradition has come up about that. Not only Kid Rock and Born Free, but this other tradition came up about that smoke filling that Coke trailer. Yes, I feel terrible about that. That was a mean thing, and those people survived. But they're probably not laughing about it 25 years like I am. But when that happened, I remember specifically saying, "Doesn't that send chills up your arms?" You just hearing that bike revving up as loud as it could, and that squeal of that tire and that smoke. Well, the next year, we started the Chill Up. Were you around for that?
I don't think
you might have left too soon. And we're trying to figure out the best time for it because it's right after the awards. The Chill Up.
Okay.
The Chill Up is everybody gets out on their bikes and they rev up their bikes as loud as they can. Sometimes I've had a cordless or a wireless mic, and I go out into the group and just let that come through that PA system. And it literally does. It gives you chills up your arms and your back, your leg, just hearing that vibrate inside those windows. I've always wondered if those windows are going to blow out or not, but it does. It does literally. So it's the Chill Up, and it does. It gives you a chill up your arms.
That's awesome.
It's one of the coolest sounds too. Is
we're gonna have to stay that late.
Stay and be a part of it.
Well, I usually stick around. Well, so I show up right at the beginning, drop the bike off. I'm walking around looking at everybody as they roll in. And
have you won?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe one day it'll happen. But
there you go.
The common denominator I've seemed to notice between each year is usually if you have custom paint, you have a pretty darn good chance of winning.
Yeah.
Because you've got Mayor Vincent in the past who's been looking for it, and then it just kind of stands out from the rest. Because yes, Harley Davidson and some of these other companies have really good paint, but it just a lot of times doesn't match somebody who's gone and put their soul into a paint job, you know?
That's why that People's Choice Award is the one to get. It's though the People's Choice Award kind of has a little bit of criteria because I do hand select a small group of people. I don't have 1,000 people selecting a bike.
It's not like a voting.
I do have a small judging group of people that can literally put some emphasis on it, and that's the hardest category for them to decide, because it's a conglomeration of many of them. So, Jeremy, sorry, I didn't mean to say, have you won? You were telling me about you'd break your bike down, and you haven't stayed for that, and you're going to this year.
Yeah,
you will.
I think the issue is, so I mean, I've got my wife and my kid, and my entire my wife's side of the family is all here in Brigham, and so a lot of the times it's like, okay, we're around the motorcycle for some of it, and then we go out and we go to the carnival, or we're walking around to the different booths, and then we're back at the motorcycle show, and then we're back out. It's kind of back and forth as much as I can get it.
Yeah.
Or if I have, we have a friend named Gary, and he's been on the podcast once. I think it's just once. He'll be back. Yeah. No worries. Anyways, he's been coming to the motorcycle show as long as I have, because that's how him and I became friends, was riding motorcycles.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, hey, dude, I'm going to this motorcycle show, and it's super cool, and you got to come. And so he's been coming. I'm trying to think of it. I mean, my sister-in-law's brought her bike before. So I love it. I love it.
Thank
you.
You.
The more people we can have come, the better, in my opinion. I don't know what kind of restrictions the city has on how. I mean, if they want to keep it smaller, or now it's been around so long they don't really care, or I don't know.
As long as I can keep it a family event, then that's not hasn't even been a challenge. But that's all I've asked me, is just stay family oriented. And you just said it right there. You bring your wife and your kids, and you ride your bike in and go enjoy Peach Days. That's what the whole idea was. We're reaching out past, when you say South Jordan. We're going past that. My son went to Sturgis this year. He took a handful of these posters and plastered them all the way up to Sturgis and out of back. He likes to keep a few for himself and signs them. And last year when he was on it, he was literally signing them.
Yeah, we'll have to get your signature on these two that we have.
I'll do that for sure. I'd love that. But so we're reaching out, because I know that many of those bikers coming out of Sturgis, whether you're riding or in a trailer or whatever you're doing, you're stopping at those locations, and you might be in Salt Lake and want to have an event, or ride out of Logan and just want to come over. That Sturgis just gets that in your blood.
Yeah.
I even just want to come over in September. So we've been pretty lucky. The weather is always, I've had 2 rained out days that I recall, that still bikes showed up. There's still those diehards. There's some that probably would have shown up. The weather got great at 10 o'clock a.m. Right when they were driving in. Started getting terrible. They're like, I'm not going. And I had a little small turnout for that. But now I'm maybe jinxed myself.
Well, I remember like 2 or 3 years ago that it rained in the morning.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh crap, I've been waiting all year for this thing.
Yeah.
You can't do this to me. And then it cleared out, and I was like, thank goodness.
I know. I did make some phone calls. The guys that I knew were coming up out of Salt Lake, I let them know, because I kept looking down that direction south of us.
Sometimes.
It was grayish black, and I just knew that Noe was going to be showing up. And that's unfortunate. It is an outdoor event. That's what it is. And band still went on. We had a good event. Obviously, our monies were down a little bit, but the sponsors, I give the sponsors as much recognition as I can. Whether 250 bikes show up, and it's really not the 250 bikes that are showing up or more. It's the thousands of people that walk around. And this podcast, the possibility of thousands reaching there, and our social media reaching out to that. And I've asked every one of the sponsors to put this on their website, because I think they should be proud if they're supporting something for their community, and put it on their website. So it's just, we're getting a lot of traction. The car show's been in there for 42, 43 years.
I was going to say, it's been around quite a bit longer.
Yep. And I listened to the guy that did it myself. He was the president of the car club, and I'm a car enthusiast as well. And so I follow those guys as much as I can. That's another dying tradition, I think. Young men like you are maybe getting into motorcycles a little bit more than the muscle car, There's just something about a Camry.
I can barely afford the motorcycle. We can't talk about if I got in a car. Heaven forbid.
I don't know. Unfortunately, I think it is possibly. I could be wrong. I just would imagine more guys like me, but I probably ought to get involved with that myself. Keep that enthusiasm going for that. But this bike show has just been a great hoot. My family loves Peach Days because of I don't know what we'd do if we didn't do the car show or the bike show. And I got family members that come up, bring their motorhomes and their travel trailers and camp out for the whole entire weekend, which I'm thankful because by Sunday I'm beat. I've partied all night with him Friday night and tried to get him up going Saturday morning. And even though the event only just lasts, till 6 o'clock, there's emotional stress there.
Oh yeah.
As you mentioned, you tried to stop me last year, and
it's not.
I'm risk running, especially for that first little bit as it gets settled, but. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I love that kind of chaos. It just keeps me going. I look forward to that. I like knowing that it's organized chaos because chaos can be so frustrating.
Oh yeah,
Definitely. So organized, I'll buy that. Yeah, I'll take that for sure. There's so many parts that are involved in this, like this band. Set up for this band. It's not just. A microphone and a guitar, they got a whole system to set up and park, and they're on a stage, a large stage. I used to have a tent over top of them, but I had one band that just says, no, we like the outdoor experience. We don't like that circus tent on top of us.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, oh, boy, you don't know how much that makes me feel. And the guys that used to help me set that thing up.
There, though. It gets hot.
There says, we're used to it. We want it. So, it seems September is always a great the weather just sure seems to accommodate for the event for sure. It's a slight little breeze. And a little bit, we get sunburned, but the band this year is, I've listened to them a couple of times, and in fact, they're touring a lot. They tour about 100 plus days a year. This band, it's a nice band, and they accepted to come to this event.
That's awesome.
They love the idea, and Nate Cook from the Heavy Bucket Band, he's a veteran, and I like his story, and he likes what I have to say, and so that's going to be a fun. I went and listened to him at Manaway just a couple weeks ago. Made my first introduction with him, and I'm looking forward to having the Heavy Bucket Band this year too.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the Turn Together Foundation. That they're one of my highest sponsors, and he's giving me a little bit extra. And I says, so I'll tell you where I'm lacking. I want to raise my bands. I've always given a band an opportunity. Sometimes there's just some garage bands, some good garage bands, and they picked up a few gigs. Just announcing this, so if somebody want to pick them up for $500 or so, they got a job out of it. But I did mentioned his name's Nate Vanderstein, and at the Turn Together Foundation, he says, I'll give you some extra money if you'll put it, to a good cause. And one of the attractor was the band. I felt so that was the good cause, and then I was able to. Put more money towards the Children's Youth Justice Center this year too, because of that. So we've got a really good friendship. This Nate Vanderstein with Turn Together Foundation. He's only been on board a couple of years with me, but he sees a wonderful cause, and he is all about first responders and veterans. So it's kind of cool how things line up. Yeah. It just happens in this biker world, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
It really does. It's from some fun things grow together about this.
You don't realize how amazing the community is until you actually dig into it, and how much everybody's actually together on everything.
They really are. Yeah, and I think that's the reason what gives us the drive to want to even do something. Yeah. If it is not working, then it's not working, and then you got to go somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
But when something they're going in the right direction, this is. I love it when people get on board.
Okay, I've been mulling over an idea. I want to hear what you two have to think about it and see if it's even possible. I think it'd be really cool to have a little booth and do a little podcast episode right there, and have people that are coming just sit down, like open mic, and talk about what they're riding, how long they've been coming and just have kind of a round robin of whoever wants to sit down.
I got room for you.
He's gonna make it possible.
He's like, say less.
I haven't talked to the chamber yet, but no. You know what? I think that would be a fun thing, a live broadcast. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
It would be down towards the stage area. That's where I have power. I do have to pull it out of the print shop. So here's another, the print shop's recently been sold to new Eric Juergens, but he picked right up with Scott Hendrickson. He's the one that printed my posters. He wants to be involved, and I run power out of his shop to run this band. So I really think that would be wonderful, Jeremy and Zach. That would be so fun and how cool to be right there, right at the event.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
Just like set up a tent or, a sunshade, whatever, put a table down, a couple chairs. And
I do have a enclosed trailer that it could set you in. Be behind the stage. I can be able to run power to it. You can control things. That came about when I owned Drew's Florals right down the street from there. So my people, they work so hard, not like 12 o'clock. We're getting ready up until that time. So they're working hard. They don't get any breaks. It's just things running right on. I always say, we can do this for 8 hours. We can do this for 8 hours. You don't need a break. That's the employer side of me talking. But so I started realizing, they like to go out and have a little sandwich or sit down and have a cold drink of some sort. And so we bring this trailer in. That would work, I think.
Yeah,
we'll have to talk about it. We'll work out the details.
See what that would be like.
I think it'd be cool. That
would be so cool. I think it'd be wonderful for your listeners too. Give them it a little different because a lot of times the podcast you're just kind of building this thing in your mind. You know what it is, but if you could really be living it and be a part of that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't know. What are you gonna say, sir? I don't know if I just cut you off. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just saying that I have access to the aerial footage too, so.
Oh, that'd be cool.
We could. I've got access to drones, and so we could get over the top views of bikes and floating of the event and stuff that goes on too. So
that would be so awesome. So here's my story about that. So as I said, my goal is to set it from 45 minutes. It's taken us a little bit longer that once in a while, but we've been down at 45 minutes. So I had a drone pilot. He got there a little late. So we were really, that's when the ants come out. It's amazing. Setting up a couple hundred barricades and people, the trucks driving down. So he was a little late setting up for that. And then your battery time's like 25 minutes. So he's up there for 25 minutes. Well, you got to come back down. By then, my event was done and set up.
It was ready to go.
I never did see it, but so I've always thought about that.
Yeah.
That would be, I'd love to see something like that happen.
We'll have to do a couple things. That
would be a very fun experience too.
I think if we got all this to come together, I think it would be fantastic. So,
sorry. Go ahead.
I always look to see it can happen.
Yeah.
Under most circumstances, most things can happen. I pulled off a bike show with 2 weeks, and I pulled off the beard contest with 2 weeks. So that I think we got a little less than that, a little more than that time.
Yeah.
So with your two enthusiasts and obsessions
and we've got 4 weeks.
Oh yeah,
or 3. I don't know. It's close.
It's getting close.
We got some more time.
September 7th. Yes, I want to remind her of that. It is September 7th. It's easiest for me to always say it's the week following Labor Day. It's always been, like I said, for 117 days. It's the week following Labor Day.
That's
Hence
wild.
the fact I don't get a Labor Day. I don't even know what a Labor Day. I'm generally getting ready for a bike show, doing the last things, loading up trailers, picking up my pylons. I like doing the things, I can do it at my time, and if I can get some help, that's just a bonus. And so I, take a couple of weeks to do all that. maybe I probably ought to get some help. Maybe I wouldn't have a heart attack. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Let's hope you don't have another one.
Yeah,
no
let's
kidding.
not. Let's avoid that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything special going on because this is, a quarter century of the events, or anything coming up, or are you trying to keep it like hush, hush?
It's not really anything specific. I think I've probably reached out when you wanted to say this. I've been trying to get the word out more, not necessarily that bigger, other than I could probably raise some more funds, but we're having a T-shirt, which is going to be a commemorative 25 years. I literally have all of them, the ones I've had myself. So that might be strange because I'm the chairman or not, but
I wonder how many people have that many. I mean, maybe your sons, or it would have to be anybody who came that first year.
Yes, and I do have a guy just last week has told me he has the very first T-shirt.
That's
and
awesome.
I want him, and he's more of a car guy. His family has Harleys and that, so this is kind of what started. I started thinking, okay, I'm going to bring some of that memorabilia that I have, some posters.
That'd be cool. Have like a table set up.
Yeah, little table set up, and maybe some. What was nice is earlier, as this thing was going along, I was taking pictures and having them developed, and I have an album, photo album, so I can lay that out and just let people just thumb through that.
That's cool.
And then the last 10 years or so, it's all been digital. So guess what I haven't done? I haven't printed a damn picture.
They're all on your phone,
but I can look at it anytime, and I do that very often. If I like to get into a good place and think about how much fun people have, not necessarily myself, but people looking forward to that. You'd mentioned that I'm looking forward to this time, and I am too. This year's I'm looking extremely forward to it. The legacy alone. That's been remarkable. And when I started thinking about the dollars that I have, how are we on time?
You're doing good. Keep going.
All right.
We're hour and 10.
Oh, the dollars that we've raised and in what great causes they all went to, and every one of them has been just such. That's why I guess I'm an emotional guy too. I just think about those great things and good things that can happen out of it, and people just having generally just fun. That's what I'm all about too. I just like to have fun and make sure that other people are having fun doing what they're doing too. And this is one way.
Yeah.
Looking forward to Channel 13. I've been on Channel 13 News for many, many years, and that's kind of like I'm looking forward to that. In fact, last year she didn't let me know. The Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Monica didn't let me know in a specific time. I thought, well, are they cutting this Harley show out of their programming this year or not? But no, they look forward to that time. And I think about it. I was heavily involved with the Peach Queen pageant as well. You never think that a motorcycle enthusiast, Peach Queen pageant, floral shop owner, nothing lines up. There's truly nothing lines up there. But heavily involved with the Peach Queen pageant, and the Peach Queen, when they come and check, they come and select a bike. Every year that they have the Peach Queen going away for that year, and they do a little slideshow. And every year that I've been aware of that I've been to that pageant, there's always been that picture, because I take it under the arch, and there's just it's iconic. There's these motorcycles, and they're all under the arch. There's nothing else like it. There used to be a I don't know what there never was anything up that way. I was going to say there used to be a climbing wall or something, but that was down towards the other way.
Oh, really?
So I have it somewhere. Oh, here it is. I'll throw it on the screen. I do have one picture of 2021 Peach Queen and her attendance. On the bike she chose.
On the bike she chose.
Yep. I think that's cool. But, because Peach Queen is pretty synonymous with Peach Days and Brigham City. I mean, my own sister-in-law's competed in it a couple times. She loves competing in those. She's she's the one that brings her motorcycle.
Does she?
So it's really cool that we'll introduce you when Peach Days comes up. But it's cool that relation is there between the pageant and the motorcycle show.
Yeah, it's all themed. That's what I like. Just all around peaches.
Yeah.
And to start off knowing that that's how they sold their product through Peach Days. Let's have it for the commercial fruit stand owners to sell their peaches. They had started Peach Day. It used to be just one day, and now it's morphed into 3 days now.
Yeah, full weekend.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, your family or your in-laws, right?
Yeah, I live on a peach orchard, so.
Really?
Yep.
What's the last name, Zach?
Nelson.
Yep.
So we actually, the stand is actually Valcarce.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have, I want to say 40 acres of peach orchard, and so I know exactly how that is.
Absolutely. I never get some of the best compliments is I have 2 grandsons that are twins, and they worked for a peach orchard at Pettingill's. And to this day, he still comments on how well those 2 boys worked.
Yeah.
And that alone right there, it just says a lot about those boys, and that a man still to this day recognizes how well they worked. So they worked hard too, and they tell me about working hard all day long.
Yep.
And owning orchards.
Yep.
I like the fact that's one of the reasons why I do like living where we're at. That Highway 89 is the best Harley riding or
Fruit Freeway.
Yeah, Fruit Freeway. Yeah, it is. We do have some of the coolest areas to ride in this area, in this little valley that we live in.
Yeah.
Just get on for an hour and a half, and the best hour and a half of your life. I just think that's why do you want to be associated with bikers? I always think that my designers, and just think about that feeling when you are riding or coming to this event, or how fun it is to take your bikes down to an event just like this.
Yeah.
Bikers, they're just got a good spot in my heart for all of them.
Hey.
Bugs are good people.
Oh, yeah.
There's
sure.
choices for everybody, and some people choose to act differently and want to be different. But I think we all know, what's good and right and wrong.
I would say about 97% of us are actually all pretty good people.
I agree.
There's a couple that are like, but
I wouldn't line myself up if it wasn't any greater than that.
Right.
I like that for sure.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you were going to say something to Zach.
I have one more question for you before we end up. Did you have any before I ask that?
No, I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you for, coming and joining us today. It's been amazing. So
you guys might have thought I was going to stand you up. I had that. I had that telephone
I knew you were coming.
I knew I was just going to. I thought, I can't wait to do this, and I didn't want to let. The other thing is, I didn't want to let my designer down. That she had taken your message, and she knew. I know I can get a hold of him, and then she knows about how I am.
Well,
sometimes.
I guess before I even ask my question, I should bring that up because once I got the podcast started with Zach, I was like, I need to find people that can come on, because having people like you that are integral to the local motorcycle community, it makes this podcast so much more fun.
That's nice.
We've had Randy, the motorcycle riding coach. He's with the combat vets, and he does that teaching down south. We've had Weston from Saddleback Harley Davidson come on. So just the more that we can have that are locals, I think the more fun it makes it. But ever since I started, I was like, I got to get Kelly on so that we can talk about Peach Days, because I love Peach Days. And
you're obsessed with it.
I think it's fun.
Yeah, I got something for you then.
But I just think it's funny because I was like, I don't have his number.
Yep.
I think I reached out to you on Facebook forever ago, but some people just don't check their Facebook. I don't do
Facebook. I got hacked 2.5 years ago during Peach Days.
So that's probably right when I messaged you.
Yeah, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to take a little break from that media.
No, smart man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like, I know he owns the flower shop, so I guess I'll just cold call him. I'll just walk up to the shop and find him. But you'd sold the shop and retired by then, and so they're like, Also, I'm just like showing up out of the blue. So your workers are like, who the freak is this guy?
They know better. Yeah, they know. Except anybody's that wants to talk to me, that there's a reason for that.
And I was like, I explained why I was there, and I was like, can I get his number? And they're like, I don't know if I can give you. I'll reach out to him for you, but I don't think I can give you his number or whatever. And I was like, that's okay. I understand. I'm not trying to be weird. I just want to have him onto the podcast.
What great gatekeepers. Yes. I didn't see. That's the other thing. You never know. Don't know. It's like when you do a good job, you don't really know you're doing a good job until somebody says, hey, you did a good job. Yeah. And so that's funny because she kind of knows how I am. Organized chaos. Sometimes it's not quite as organized as I'd like it. And she'd probably figure, I give this to him and he'll freaking lose it or misplace it. Or I like to pile things. So what pile would that be in? So she stayed on me with that one. And I can't wait to tell her that I've got my first podcast.
You've been on the podcast.
Yeah.
You made it.
Yeah.
How could you get any
I
higher?
was going to say, yeah.
Legend status.
Yes.
Yeah, so this episode will air next Monday.
That's funny. That would be nice to hear. Well, I think it's important, to get those listeners out there, getting the things that they want from their listeners. And that's how I kind of watched about this thing, how this grew. They started, we need more than just a bike show, so let's get us a band. And I'd mentioned earlier I was following something that gave tips, and I just thought of whether riding tips or mechanic tips. And, I think as sponsors that they would maybe pick up on that. I know I couldn't do this without sponsors.
Yeah.
Right.
All this money raised, even though there's deep pockets, those sponsors are the ones that really have the deep pockets. But generally I'm only talking to one or two of those people, but I'm talking to hundreds of you bike riders that, have those deep pockets. So, I just think that's extremely important. So I hope that comes to you because these things don't come cheap. The equipment I'm sitting in front of, and you're willing to set it up at a bike show. I'm thinking, gosh, this is equipment, and this is how you're going to, keep the people informed. This stuff here. So, hopefully things are, as those vendors, or your listeners' base grows and. Hopefully having stuff like this and listening to Randy and Wes and those people, I just think people just get the word out and hopefully they'll say something at the bike show. One of the things I've thought about at the bike show, and I've heard that you made a point, I see you there, but you're always running around, and that is true. And I really feel like I'm missing some things specifically lately, the last couple of years. I think I have maybe missed the fact that I do enjoy it. I noticed that when I wasn't taking as many pictures, one year, I think the year of my heart attack, I don't think I had very many pictures at all. And the bike show had nothing to do with it. But I think, things were leading up to all that for sure. But I think I'm going to take some heart of that. I'm going to really enjoy this. If I need more volunteers, I'm going to get more volunteers. If I need to make sure I'm looking for you guys, and
we'll find you.
Yeah, good.
We'll find you.
That's what I'm
hide
saying.
from us.
I've said that for everybody. If you see me, just get my attention at least. And I'll see where I'm at with my timing. But I really appreciate you guys' time, and thanks for having me have this obsession.
Yeah.
I could talk for a long time with all this, and it's easy for me, and I think it's easy because there is that passion. And, if we talked about sales or we talked about the military or, you'd have that same passion. And so I'm happy that you guys are out there for meet guys like me to share that same passion. And I'm looking forward to people that are coming to this. Bring your bikes. And if you're not able to bring bikes, just come on by and enjoy the whole Peach Days activities. There's plenty for everybody to do. So there's something for everybody for sure. And stick around, and I've got people that just don't even leave, and I don't blame them. I've never seen anything else besides the bike show and the trip down to the car show. Literally, I don't get a chance to see nothing else because their events are going. Same time, I'm watching the parade and make sure that last entry's coming by, and I don't get to see nothing else. So I'll live through you guys. When you get down to the car show, tell me how many cool Camaros were there, and over to the vendors and have a corn dog and what have you. But anyway, thanks a lot for this and for sure. And I'd love to come back at a different time. And I've got a couple other topics and
for sure. I think hopefully the goal is to one day kind of have a rotating cast. Like we can have a topic, bring some people on, get their unique points of view, etc.
That's very nice. But sky's the limit, guys. Keep going for it. Looking forward to what was again, Jeremy, the 20th episode, 19th episode?
Oh, I wish we were that far. We're on 11. We're getting there. 11. We'll be there. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah. Not without doubt. Just weeks from now for sure.
When you mentioned your sponsors and all those have put into it, that kind of led into my last question. I remember a couple years ago, I don't know if it's been a consistent thing, but there was a bike that they raffled off. It was a Yamaha Vulcan.
Yes.
Vaquero.
The Bikers Against Child Abuse.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, that was their big raffle a couple of years ago. And then I've always been trying to, have them do that idea and to raffle it off at Peach Days, but they have their toy run the following week.
Gotcha.
And
is that when they usually do it?
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's when they do that. So, it's worth a try, but I just realized that that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I want them to do their toy
harder.
run.
Yeah. Well, because I just thought it'd be cool because my sister-in-law that does come, she went to the Cache Valley Logan car show, and I think just your entry, getting in, the fee to get into the show, gave everybody a ticket to this classic renovated truck, and she won it.
Oh, she did. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, so somebody else won it, but they didn't come up to the stage, and so they drew another name, and it was hers. And so apparently how they do it there is they have every year anybody who can come back with the truck they won, they line them up, and it's like, this is 2020, like 2019, and they just line up. And she said, I think this year they had like six returning, and so I was like, that'd be kind of cool, like if we I don't know if there's any local builders or something that would, you could kind of do that as a charitable thing. Because I know another podcast I listened to, they did a raffle for a bike that went towards the Autism Foundation, I think. Yeah. And so I was like, man, that'd be really cool if people could donate, build a bike, raffle it off at Peach Days, and then have that be like a returning. That bike is like, hey, this was the 2024 bike or 25 bike or whatever. So, I don't think we can quite pull that off in 3 weeks.
I don't think, we kind of could, because one of my proud sponsors is High and Mike's Pawn Shop. They have one in Ogden and one in Roy and one in Layton. And they're one of my proud sponsors as well from the beginning. And in fact, I get raffle items from him, brand new raffle items from there. But he took in a motorcycle one year. And this kind of got a little bit disgusted. He thought, what could I do with this? I could take a loss on this and donate it to you. Right. My biggest fear is I'm only into this thing for the one event. Mm-hmm. And I was afraid that I'd only get $200 and somebody would have this nice, beautiful, it was kind of a rat rod bike with chain driven and aircraft wrap around the exhaust and that kind of look. But I thought, that's what would happen to me is I'd only get a couple $100 and somebody would get this cool bike and probably sell it for, I don't know,
whatever
it actually was worth.
Well, we're hoping to have a couple. I've been in contact with a lady on Facebook that's trying to help me get organized to have. There's her husband and a friend of his. They do classic choppers, I think, and then they have a friend that's a pinstriper. So I was like, it'd be cool if we have them on, make that connection, and then like long term we're able to figure something cool like that.
Yeah, I've always thought about that pinstripe, and I wanted to have somebody set up a little booth because I had some little area trying to fill up that main street that had a booth and maybe pinstriping a gas tank or something on there, and stuff like that. So I think there's always things to improve something, for sure. Yeah. And so there's a lot of potential here, and maybe the podcast might be the perfect start. I'm having a television crew come this year. They're going to do a this Turn Together, he's using this as part of his foundation. This is what we're doing to help certain things out. So he's bringing a television crew this year. So maybe that might, who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
26 year, you never know.
Yeah.
Got a few weeks to get ready.
Yeah, that's all it takes, is a few weeks.
Yep.
Well, y'all heard it here first.
Yeah.
Everyone who can make it, you better be there, because it's not something you want to miss. And once you come, you're never going to not come.
Yeah, I've got a lot of repeats. I mean, that's how I kind of look at it too. You must be doing something right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The timing's right, the something's right. So a lot of repeats. So remember, September 7th, this is the week following Labor Day. It's right after the state's largest entry parade, and that's generally at 1 o'clock. Parade gets over that area about 12 o'clock. It lasts till 1:30, cleared out of the other end.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we're not down and clear at the other
Yeah.
end. We'd be waiting a long time for that parade to
It's
get
like
over.
literally the second
Yes.
they get by, it's like
Yeah.
set up.
Yep, it is. So I'm looking forward to that. And Zach mentioned something about maybe we can work something out to get some things going on. We've got time for that's
Yeah.
what I like about
Yeah, we
this.
do.
So looking forward to both this and making sure your listeners, when they do come up, let me know that you heard it on your podcast, because I'd like to share that with you too.
Yeah.
See how effective this is getting out to the biker population as well.
For sure.
Well, thank you for being on.
Absolutely.
We'll
Thanks a lot.
see you. We'll see you next time, and thanks for tuning in. Those who are listening, we'll see you next week. Thanks.